Hello everyone. I don't know if this is working. If you can see me, let me know. Let me just check. Yes, Susie. Hey Susie, good morning. Good morning to you. It's almost noon time here. And so you can hear me well. Wait for a few minutes for others to join. I was going to put my website up, which I forgot. There we go. Nice and sharp. Okay, that's good. That's what we want. And the good thing about this software is you can even add images and text. So I have out here in this box, right here, the picture of the yarn that we're going to be making. So for some reason I cannot see if people have joined in or when they are joining in. Let me see if I can tell from somewhere else. Oh well. Can you tell Susie that when people are joining in? Yes, the core thread is amazing. Now even Evanita has some of it, so I look forward to seeing what she makes with it. Okay, so this looks good. Let's wait for a few minutes for people to come because I kind of tried to divide up my time to see how much of core spinning I want to do and people don't get bored with me just core spinning. So I've already core spun some of it and we'll move on to the next steps much sooner than people just watching me core spin endlessly. You're welcome. I'm glad Susie posted about it, so we finally found the source for it, and I think I got a lifetime supply. We'll see. If I run out, I know where you live, Evanita, so not a problem. So I'm trying to see if there is any place where I can tell if there are people joined in. Um, Let me just search on the group. Okay, I see there are 14 people watching us, so I guess it's time to start. So, welcome everyone. It's noon, so let's start with this. So, I'm Charan Sachar and part of the Artist in Residence program. I am going live showing you one of the yarns I recently created. And I had just posted about this um, recently in the group, and we thought it'll be a good idea to show you how I actually make it. So I'm making it again. You can see the picture of the yarn on the screen, and there are more than one ways of doing it. What I'm currently doing is I just have a top out here. It's just, dyed randomly. This was actually one of my dye experiments from early this year, and the fiber actually had compacted a little bit, but it's not so bad that I cannot spin with it. It definitely helps if you have fiber that hasn't been compacted at all. But essentially, I'm core spinning with a top here. You could totally core spin with, um, prepared blended fiber, bat, uh, the kind of look I'm trying to achieve with this is to get a very smooth yarn. So hence I'm using a top and not a bat. The other ply that I'll be using is more textured, so kind of wanted to have this to be a smoother coarse one. And if you notice, and if you have seen some of Susie's videos as well, if you want your core spin to be smoother, all you have to do is move your index finger slightly above so you can compress the fibers down below, and hopefully this will focus and you can see. So that really focuses and compresses the core spun yarn, and it is a little thick and thin in spots, which is fine. But I'm essentially trying to make a pretty even core spun yarn. And a very smooth one, not very textured for this particular ply. And of course, if you wanted to do it the other way, there are no rules to this. If I just move my finger away and then do this, you can see how open and crazy it gets. So I just kind of wanted a little bit on the neater side, so I'm core spinning this way. Now you don't have to core spin, you can totally just spin this clockwise, just the fiber by itself as a single, but add enough twist to it so that it it can ply back on itself. When I am spinning or trying to spin a really smooth core spin as well, I do tend to add extra twist in it. So even now I am adding extra twist to this, because if you see, the point is to ply it again, so you have to have that extra twist in this core. So at any point, if anyone has questions, please feel to put in the comments. I can read your comments and I can answer to the best of my ability. So few things about core spinning. The way I like to hold my core spun yarn is between my pinky finger and my ring finger out here, and so that's in my right hand. You can switch hands if one is uncomfortable, you can switch hands if the other way is better for you, but this kind of helps me put tension on the core when I need to, especially when I want to add extra twist in it. And yeah, and then I keep releasing it as I want to push forward. If I'm core spinning to leave a yarn as a single, I add very little twist, so I add very little tension between my fingers out there on the core. But right now I'm kind of holding it back a little bit, just so that I get some extra twist and that I can ply this yarn. And like I said, you don't have to do this, you can just spin a single and make it, just a spin it, not like a fairly thick, but not super thick. The other thing which is very important in this yarn is the directions in which you spin. Right now for this, the pinkish yarn that you see in the picture, and as well as I'm trying to look at the camera, the screen, that's why I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing with my hands. But the direction of this plain yarn, the core spinning, is clockwise. So keep that in mind. You always want to be going in the opposite direction when you're applying this, right? So this is the yarn core spun. So very similarly, there's going to be another core spun yarn, which is the dark fiber that you see in the picture there. That one is to be core spun anti-clockwise. Anti-clockwise is the S direction, and for that fiber I had used this. I'm not going to be demoing this because it'll be watching me endlessly core spin, but this is the fiber. So this is, it's a textured blend, and that is what I had used to core spin the other ply. The difference is that, let me, I don't have my core here. Oh, there it is. Hold on. So just to show you a quick difference in this, the core that I used for my, the pinkish or the bluish or the light colored yarn is this very thin, uh, kind of mohair like textured yarn. It's fairly thin. And this one is the one that is spun clockwise. The core spin that I do with this one, the darker fiber that you see as the other ply, that one is going to be core spun anti-clockwise, but I'm going to be using a thicker core to it. So that's the core I'm using for the darker fiber. Now it is going to be spun anti-clockwise. I'm not going to core spin it now because I'll have to keep changing bobbins, but maybe I can show you a little bit. But you can see the difference in the size of the cores, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. You want to have a different size core and do this. Now you could just spin singles, but keep in mind when you're spinning the other single, you're spinning it thicker than the first one. So you can just do a thick and thin single, this one clockwise and the other one anti-clockwise. So let's switch bobbins and go to the other one where we go on to the next step. So I'm not seeing any comments, so I'm hoping everyone can hear me and I'm not talking to myself, which happens a lot too when I'm making yarns like this. I need to basically tuck my yarn in so I can actually remove this easily. I absolutely love this about this wheel is the way the bobbins come out. I feel like a magician every time I do it. And see, people are very silent. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So this is the bobbin that I have ready. So this is the clockwise top that I've spun over the thin core. Okay, so I'm going to keep this on my side here and put in a new bobbin here on which I'm going to be spinning anti-clockwise. And maybe for the start I will just do a little bit of core spinning with a thicker core so you can see what I'm talking about. Oh, okay. I am on my computer, but I don't see any comments on my computer. I saw the comments from Susie and Evanita, but not from anyone else. Oh, and there are 27 comments going on. All right, let me. Okay, for some reason I'm not seeing all. Oh, the comments thing is not scrolling automatically. Boy, that's a bad design on the computer. So, Evanita, can you just comment again to make sure or someone comment something so we can see if the window is scrolling up or not. There are so many of you have joined in. Sorry, I kept ignoring all the comments coming in. I hope there was no question for me. Good morning from New Zealand. Wow, there are so many people from New Zealand. Okay, I was browsing. I'm sorry. Evanita, one more time, please. Okay, okay. Now I can see the comments coming up in real time. All right. So, yes, it's behaving now. Thank you so much, Evanita. It's all of this is a learning curve for us, right? So, I am going to go ahead and go to my second core, which I didn't plan to spin, but I'll spin a little bit so you have an idea what I'm talking about. Okay. So this one I'm going to be spinning anti-clockwise or in the S direction. You want to add enough twist into your leader, because I hate it when for the last few inches you completely lose all the twist when it's coming off the bobbin. So let there be enough twist in your leader when you start. The way I tie up my core is a square knot so I can release it. So basically that's the core, and that's the yellow is my leader. And you can look up, there are a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do square knots, but that's essentially how it looks. And you just pull it tight and it stays together. But when you want to release it, all you do is you can put your leader taut like this, and you can just slip your, where is it? Yeah, so you can just hold it straight out. I'm trying to look at the camera and do this, which is so difficult sometimes. And your core will just slip out that way without having to cut anything. So this is a trick that I learned from Sarah Anderson, who's written that amazing book. I don't know if the comments are disabled again, but no, looks like it's running fine. Okay. So I'm going to do this anti-clockwise. So I'm going to just spin the other ply, and for that I'm using this guy here. And this one I'm going to be going anti-clockwise for this one. Okay. So get it started. And you can see that this one is a lot thicker, but I love the way this one looks. Like when you have variegated blended fibers like this or a bat, it just looks amazing. Now again, we want to have extra twist in this because we are going to be plying it, but you have I'm not treadling too much on this because my core is already anti-clockwise to start with. So even the very slight twist that I'm putting in is putting a lot of twist into this core. So it really depends on your core how much of treadling you need to do in order to add more twist to it. I know, isn't this fiber gorgeous? I'm very stingy with it now. I got it as part of like a mill end mixed bag thing. Have no idea what it is. I know it means I have a guess what it is, but unlabeled, and it's just pretty amazing. It has some silk and bamboo in it. Really beautiful fiber. But if you can see my feet, I'm treadling really slow, but even that very slight treadling is adding more than enough twist that I need for my plying. And the reason for that is that my core is already has an anti-clockwise twist in it, and I'm adding more, and it is pretty thick, so it's just staying that way. So I'm not going to use up most of my precious fibers to show you this. We need to move on to the next step. So I'm just going to use a scissor and cut off this core here. I already have some of this spun up, so You're not missing out on anything. All right. So now what I'm going to use is I'm using almost a lace weight ply thread now. So that this is going to be my ply thread to use with the pink yarn. So you can see in the picture the pink yarn, that's what I'm preparing, and that's also spun anti-clockwise because the core spinning was done clockwise. So again, a square knot. Actually, I should have tied it with the yarn. If you can find the end of these things, right? So you're getting to see everything live, all the craziness that happens at the last minute. So let's just do that. So there is quite a bit of twist in my I'm going to do the square knot again. And tie both those threads together. Okay. Now I'm going to be spinning anti-clockwise, and the core yarn, the thinner core yarn that I spun, I'm going to be I'm doing a not a super coil, but a spiral, but with extra twist. So this is how a super coil, I'm glad you're enjoying the camera angles and everything. So this is how super coil takes place, right? But I want something with extra twist. And if I super coil it and I'm adding extra twist, I really cannot tell much. See, this is not extra twist. This will just stay as it is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the angle of my Corespun yarn, not at a 90 degrees, but slightly at an angle this way. And what that will do is it'll do a spiral, but then I'm going to add extra twist so that it actually lands up looking more like this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's try that. So see, I'm moving it at an angle, but I'm treadling more, so it is still getting compacted. So the look is pretty similar to what you saw in the beginning, but this has that extra twist in it that I need. Okay, so take it at an angle, and you see when you have a random painted top, it does these beautiful colorations. That's what I really like with this. I need to increase the tension a little bit. Oh, actually the yarn is, there was a knot right in the beginning. That's what was getting a little stuck there. So should be good now. Yeah. So this, I'm just adding a few more treadles and then letting it go. So the end, this is looking like a spiral ply, but this has that extra twist that I need for the next plying step. And the way you can tell is you know, you can do a ply back test and see whether it's plying back on itself. So that's good. And you know, it might look, this is where I used to get very confused, or when I was trying earlier, I'm like, oh, I might as well just, you know, do a spiral ply this way. But when I do it this way, it doesn't get enough of the twist. Means I can add more twist to this part, but you can see it's not plying back on itself anymore. So you kind of want to do it at an angle, add enough twist so that it kind of looks like a super coil, but it's actually a spiral plied which has extra twist in it. I hope I'm making sense. Well, thank you, Avinita. Those are socks. I hand knit them. The yarn is a commercial yarn from Knitted Wit. and I'm treadling really fast, and that's not just to get this done with quickly, but to actually uh, have extra twist in this. Why? Because, and every now and then, go ahead and check, do you have that extra twist, right? See, it's a good extra twist. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And because I have a little ways to go with this. So like I was saying earlier, you can accomplish these yarns in different ways. Like you can spin the single just as it is. You don't have to core spin them. And you know, I'm core spinning them because it's fun. I'm loving this. I'm loving the different shades it's getting because of the way I was, drafting my fiber while I was core spinning, and I got these thick and thin spots out here. Plus, they are dark and light as well. So even like this is pretty good. Right. So I was saying that, you could use singles, you don't have to core spin. But you'll realize one thing once you make this yarn for the very first time is that it does not give you a lot of yardage because, all that what you have been spinning, you can see how the yardage just gets reduced by almost 1/4, I think. I'm glad you all are liking the socks. So, so the reason why I like core spinning, I like core spinning for many reasons. But one reason that I do like it that you can really extend your fiber a lot more. So if you're core spinning, you're not using too much of your precious fiber to make that thin and thick. Is there a particular fiber blend I like to core spin with? I like to I do everything. I also make my own bats. I core spin with just plain tops as well, which many people I've not seen many people do it. I think Susie has some videos where she's um, core spun with top, but many people usually core spin with bats or Rolags and things like that. But I honestly use anything and everything. Sometimes things in which I don't even know what they are. I definitely like bats the most if I want to show off the texture of all the different fibers. So yeah, I like core spinning. Means I like tops because I get this kind of coloration in it. And again, doesn't hurt to go ahead and check whether you have enough twist. Okay, just a little bit more and then we'll get to the next step. Now, it's very easy to get into your default way because I think I was kind of on the default of this. Um, it doesn't hurt to, just if this is the way you want to default spin and you don't get enough twist in it, that's fine. After you're done spinning, just pass it through the wheel one more time, and that will give the extra twist that it needs in order to make it enough for plying. So that kind of really makes a difference. So sometimes it's really hard for us to be conscious of how much plying we are actually doing. So one way to overcome it is by just passing it through the wheel one more time to add that extra twist that you need. There is no harm in you know doing steps more than once just to get the yarn that you need. We are anyway spending so much time doing all this by hand, so don't feel ashamed of repeating steps and just adding more twists when you need it. Just do it to get it right. Okay, yep, that's enough twist. You can see it's plying back on itself nicely. That's good. So, and now that I'm chatting and stuff, I have to be extra conscious whether, I'm adding that extra twist or not, and not getting into my default super coil yarn, which I spin a lot of. So that's another thing I have to be careful about. See, I would like to make a spiral yarn just out of something like this and get these repeats of colors and the thick and thins. Like, I'm liking that quite a bit too. So you discover new things while creating something else. That's always fun. But see, this kind of effect is hard to get when you're using a bat, because it will have so much other textures in it, and the colors don't fall like this as they do with a hand painted top. And this was also not a particularly very planned and hand painted top. It was just something I was experimenting with. Like, look at that. I'm liking those dark and light things. I'm sorry, I'm getting so distracted with the yarn I'm spinning just right now that I've completely lost focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. But that's what happens live, right? And there is something which I'm thinking of trying, which is different than what I have tried before. So if we have time towards the end, we will. Yeah, I'm getting not close, but uh, let's just finish core spinning this and we'll see. Or spiral spinning this. Spiral spinning with extra twist and anti-clockwise direction. That's what we are at. Also, what helps in making some of these complex yarns is to keep notes as to what you're doing and why you're doing it. So Evanita asked, with the way the colors play, it sounds like you need to revisit Susie's Spin 3 Ways video to get the hackle out. I do need to get the hackle out. I actually have dyed some fiber specifically for the hackle, and I'm hoping to get some time before the end of the year to at least play with it and see if I can, get something interesting happening. Because it's cord spinning with, a top that has been dished off from a hackle with different colors, that it feels very appealing. Well, I'm glad you all are enjoying too. Let me move my hands a little bit closer. Now, the reason why I had moved my hands back is because when you want to add extra twist, you kind of want that distance from the orifice and your hands to be longer, so there is chance for the twist to build. If your hands are really close to the orifice, then twist doesn't build, which you can use as an advantage when you're core spinning and you don't want extra twist in your fiber. Put your hands really close to the orifice and it won't get that extra twist. But here I want the extra twist, so I'm kind of keeping my hands a little bit back. Some things, you'll end up doing very unconsciously. Let me see how much fiber I have. And there's still some more to go. So I'll do it for another 10 minutes or 5-6 minutes before we move on to the next step. because as you know, you don't get much yardage out of this. So I might as well spin it all the way I am. In the meantime, feel free to ask me any questions or any other ideas you have, or something else you would want me to try for maybe next time. If there are any things you like, let me know. I know, Jackie, I'm liking the way these colors are playing with each other as well, and I'm kind of hoping I should have just left it like this. like look at these pinks and purples. It's just like they are turning into these perfect shades. Now it'll be interesting what happens in the next steps though. So for my hacker play, let me just show you. Maybe this might burn the camera with the brightness of its color. So the color is more accurate on the front camera out here, and you can see this is neon orange and pink, which is one of the colors I plan to use on the hackle. Let's hope that it looks incredible. Which groove on the whirl are you using? I am using the middle whirl. So not the fastest, not the slowest, but the middle one. And oops, I've gone off my hook there. There we go. Yeah, so I'm using that one, which gives me enough of a twist, and my take up is just right. One other thing which I would like to mention is when I do spiral plying or super coiling, I like to keep the yarn which is feeding this particular yarn, the Corespun yarn which is feeding in, rather than pulling it from down below, I like to keep it at the same level as I'm doing it, so it just feeds in a lot smoother. So if you've been having trouble doing super coils and all, just try to change positions of stuff. Oh, thank you, Jen. I'm glad this is mesmerizing and not boring. One thing I was worried about is that for how long do people going to watch me make this yarn? It takes time to make this yarn. And is it going to be absolutely perfect? Maybe not. But that's the nature of, handspun that I like. The neon is going to be awesome. I wonder what contrast color that you're using. For the hackle, I'm thinking of, I have a light lemon kind of neon color as well, which I might combine with that, and a very dark purple. So it's going to be purple, pinks, and neon yellows. That should be interesting, right? So it has some dark in it, some lights in it. Oh, you're weaving. That's fun. Okay. So I'd like to go for another 5. Let's just go for another 5 more minutes. Because since I do have this Corespun yarn, I might as well just use it for this, right? Because the next step is where things get interesting, and that's when you spiral ply. Now, Susie and I had a little discussion on what kind of yarn this is. We didn't reach a real conclusion on it. Whether it's a crepe yarn, or whether it's a boucle. And the definition can be a little bit confusing, because if we were calling this a spiral boucle, which is kind of close to what it is, I would be putting this in this step. I would be putting the core on with bigger loops and uneven loops, and not so evenly like I'm doing right now. Yeah, you lose quarter of the length in the finished yarn. So that's the thing with some of these yarns is uh, you you lose a significant amount of length, and that's the that's the part where I do like core spinning a lot, so that I'm not using most of my precious fiber and then just losing all the length of it. You use a core to kind of expand the width of your fiber, and you kind of just glaze it with your precious fiber on top, because that's essentially what's going to be seen. Of course, you have to take into account the properties of your core and how that actually works into making the yarn that you want. Because this essentially is not like a particularly very soft yarn. Means it's soft because it's wool and it's all merino, but because of the stiffer core, its structure is more. It'll be great for weaving. It would be great for wrapping gifts, I think, or using as tiebacks for curtains and things like that. So it has a different purpose than just knitting. And you could change the property of the yarn if you used a different core, and all of that really, I have found out. I've asked all these questions as to, so then what's the better core and what's not. uh, the best way to do it is just to experiment and find out what works, because it uh, it really matters how much twist you put in it, how much, you know how you spin. So unless you experiment with it, you won't know what you really like. Yes, it would make a great cushion edging as well. Yeah, you could just kind of stitch it around the edge of a pillow and it would look amazing. So not every yarn you make has to be for knitting. And it's a great looking yarn for just hanging around in a bowl. It's very decorative. Like, I'm saying this myself because I really like it and I don't mind looking at it all the time. So I'm like, it's fine. So just checking, do we still have that extra twist? We do. I think I'm losing a little bit of it because I'm trying to rush through it, but I think we'll be fine. Yes, it'll be great to attach some silver findings, or it'll be great for jewelry. I'm kind of experimenting some with jewelry and wire spinning. Yeah, I don't feel I have to rush. If people can still watch this will stay in the group even after the live event, unless it's deleted. So you can always come back and watch if you need to be somewhere. But yeah, we're getting close to this end now. I'm just liking these thick and thin bits. They are just so amazing, I think. Look at the coloration and stuff you get with that. Let me see if you can show close up. Isn't that cool? Yeah, definitely tag it. And people have different times. It's always fun to watch live because then you can, and it'll be staying on the group page. So Susie said it's going to stay there, so you can always come back and watch it. And I've just put it in the description as it's part of Artisan Action, but definitely if there are some tags that we are adding. Okay, isn't this fun? Now, sometimes I have to just stop and admire it myself because I'm liking these bursts of colors. So, now do I really want to ply it? Do I want to just leave it like this now? We'll go with our plan. Okay, just I think less than a minute more and we can move on to the next step. And I want to try a variation too. So first we'll do the yarn as planned. And then there's a variation I wanted to try which I didn't last time, so let's try it out this time and see if it works. Look who's coming to watch. Hi Casper. You want to help with the spinning? How is Casper going to help? Those are all Susie's colors, right? It's all purples. Yes, that's what really helps. It's like, unless you experiment, you really don't know what you can land up making. So you can have a certain plan, and last time I had pushed my plan to make that previous yarn, and now when I have to make this exact same yarn, I'm going like, I really need to try something else because, I get bored very quickly as well. We can all watch Casper. He's just sighing because he's getting ignored. Is he getting ignored? Is Casper getting ignored? He just had his bath yesterday. And he's so good when it comes to taking a bath. On some of his hair. In the beginning of this pandemic, it's the first time I tried to cut his hair at home, and it went okay. He was really good about it. I was a nervous wreck doing it, which is not good. But I did get some of his hair, and a friend of mine, Kent, was very keen on spinning his fiber from the day I got him. So I just sent it off to him, and I'm like, here, you wanted to spin his fiber, go ahead, have at it. And it was really short, it was probably only an inch or something. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like the yarn. And it's not what it's supposed to be. There's more going to happen with the yarn, so watch out, it's coming. And my hat is also, it's actually one of my first hand spun yarns. I did like a fractal ply, it's Targi fiber, and the pattern is Langfield. It's a great pattern for hand spun yarns. So if you have like a skein of hand spun yarn, it's perfect for this hat, and it's very adjustable too. Okay, we're almost to the end. And hope we still have the twist that we need. Okay, so advantage of square knot, which I was talking about, which might not work here because I can't see the other end. Okay. Uh, there we have some twist, so that's good. Just gonna tie this up in a knot. This is something which I realize even Susie does, which I thought, I don't know why I feel the need to do it, and I saw her mention the same thing, whether it was actually a requirement to do, but apparently there's more than one person who likes doing it. So I'm just uh, going to switch bobbins again. And I'll show you what this bobbin looks like. This is the one thing I love about this wheel, how you can remove your bobbins. But so this is how this bobbin looks. And if I would have done this intentionally without adding extra twist, this would be pretty good to leave as is. So I really like the way the colors are and everything. So so this was Corespun clockwise, and then on a thinner core, and then anti-clockwise on a thinner lace weight yarn. So it's ultimately, this is anti-clockwise with extra twist. That's the reason why you want your other ply also to be a Corespun anti-clockwise with extra twist. That's the way then these two are going to be plied together in order to make that yarn. But there is a certain things you have to kind of keep in mind as to how that happens. So let me move my yarns around, and so I'm going to keep this. The one thing which I'm missing is having a decent lazy Kate for it, but I'm trying to make do with what I do have. I think the big jumbo lazy Kate which Evanita showed me from Maja Craft would be cool, but I don't think I have the space for such a big lazy Kate to hold all my bobbins. So this is just some previously coarse spun yarn which was done clockwise, and since now both of those are anti-clockwise, we are going to go clockwise in this, so I can just feed onto this particular bobbin. These bobbins hold up so much that that I forget what has been on these. Okay, so the way I'm going to at least start by doing this is by keeping my my thicker Corespun, which is this guy, on my right side and the other one on the left side. And you can switch around. I might switch around too to see which one works better, because there's always one that works better than the other. I can't remember how I had set it up earlier, but I remember it took me a few tries. No, I really don't know whether it would be whether I really need the big lazy Kate, because I barely have space out here to put all the other bobbins. So I think with such a big lazy Kate with such big bobbins, I don't know if I'll have room. So I'm trying to make do with this, and it's working so far. So don't worry about anything. I'm fine. So again, we're doing the square knot. So these are the two yarns that are going to be plied together, and again the square knot so it can be opened up easily. And so when you're doing a boucle yarn, you're essentially you have uh, your yarn spiral plied with loops in this hand, and you kind of trap those loops with with another thinner yarn. What's happening here is the thickness of the yarns is what I'm changing. Instead of doing loops, I'm doing like a spiral ply, and instead of trapping with a thinner yarn, I am trapping with a thicker Corespun. So that's where things get a little different. Now, if I did a regular ply, which I'll do a little bit of a regular ply. Now we're going clockwise. Uh, you will see there is a certain way it looks, but then I'll need to switch it. So this looks good, but you can see how the dark yarn kind of dominates and the pink kind of goes in between. This is when I'm applying equal tension to both the yarns. And this is not exactly what I want. I really want the pink to be equally visible as the dark one. So what I actually do is, let me see if I can switch this and see. Okay, I'm going to apply a little tension going straight from my orifice on the dark yarn, just like what you do with a boucle actually, and then going to wrap this one around, which actually displays the yarn much better. So you can see that. You see the difference? So here the pink and the dark yarn are displayed equally. So it's like a very slight change that you do. Sometimes it's just how much tension you apply to the yarns, and it changes the way. Oops, that's way too much twist there. Okay, I need to increase the tension here. My take up is not strong enough. Okay. Yeah, that's better. So that's what we're going for. There we go. I think I want to also reduce the amount of twist I'm putting in. So I'm going to move on to the larger whirl. So it really, there is so many things which change, right? There's no one setting which fits all. It's good that this wheel has so many different settings that you can play around with and then see what works the best. Yeah, now this is the way I like it. So I'm really applying tension. Let's see if I can give you a better view of what's happening here. Oh, the colors are pretty dark, but they will change. This, I would have liked to let this rest for almost a day or two because right now there's so much twist in it, but it's still fine. So I'm getting some curly cues in it because there is just way too much. There is good amount of twist, but it hasn't had a chance to rest yet. Okay, I'm going to increase the tension just slightly more. The take up. I'm used to Scotch tension wheels. That's why I use terms a little interchangeably. Hope you can see what's happening here. So that's the look I want to create. It's almost like an equal balance of the spiral yarn and the black yarn Corespun. And if I put them both at equal tension, it doesn't really work. It actually helps if I keep more tension on the darker yarn. So let me know if you have any questions regarding this, and I'll spin this for a little while, and then I want to try something new because I have already spun this yarn, which is not a bad yarn, but I want to try something else. And maybe it might not even work, but it's definitely worth a try, I think. So I'm feeding on the other yarn at an angle, and I have to be careful of how much twist I put in, because see, here there is extra twist. Here's the right amount of twist here. Here there's some extra twist, because of which, now see, if I release that twist, the yarn just looks better. So the amount of twist you put in, you have to be a little wary of that. It's not a very automatic kind of yarn as well. It's a good challenge to do over Christmas break for sure. And if you have any challenges for me, any suggestions of what yarns I should try, let me know, because I have some ideas, but it's always cool to get challenged to try something new. I know I might be trying the hackle soon, but okay, I'm almost running out of my Corespun. See, it doesn't take too much. You don't get much yardage out of this, so that's the reason why I like to Corespun this one. So I'm going to try something. I want to super coil both of these yarns together over a thinner core. That's the thing which I wanted to try, which, let's see if I can make it work. So for that, essentially, I'll need to add my I'll need to add my spiral core. So I'm going to do super coiling. Yeah, it almost looks like beads. That's the thing I really like about it. So I'm going to be spiral coiling. Usually, you spiral coil one yarn. I want to spiral coil both. What I imagine is that this one is going to open up into bigger loops, and this one is going to stay in between. So we'll see how that looks. Okay. So we don't want them to twist with each other, but kind of be parallel to each other. So let's see. Need better control of this. I need more take up here, and no, it's not kind of doing what I wanted to do. I was hoping, at least not now. So let's try. Let me try it at an angle and see if that works. Yay for experiments, right? So see, it's kind of I don't know if it's the colors or what, but I would have liked both these yarns to be parallel with each other and spiral coil that way. Maybe I need to change to another core. This one is a very thin core, and it doesn't have much grab to it. So let's just switch to another core and see if that works. So that's the way I like to experiment, is if it's not working, change one thing at a time. So for one, let's try different. I have spiral core. This is my favorite yarn. I don't even know what it is. It seems like some kind of a acrylic or a cotton, but very strong. And I've always used this one for super coils. So let's just try that one for super coils and see if it works. Um, and we are going in the clockwise direction. Let's okay, I think I need to change the positions of my yarns as well. Let's see if that helps. Okay. So the thing is, they both want to uh, ply with themselves, which is what I'm trying to avoid them to do. What if we keep one on one side of the wheel and the other on the other side of the wheel? Because I'm not having much control over this otherwise. This is what real life is like in my studio when I'm experimenting. So, okay, now if I do it this way, maybe I'll have better control, but let's see. We're going clockwise. Okay, I am getting close to how I want it. It's just have to adjust my take up. My take up is on the max right now. So let's try this. Okay, definitely much better control because now they are not plying again. So now you see that the black thread is between the colored thread. That's what I'm looking for. So when I had both the yarns, this is what I was talking about. When you have, sometimes just changing the positions of where you keep the yarn when you're doing your steps, that can help. And it would be different for different people. Maybe for you, putting it on two different sides doesn't help. But for me, it does. So I'm adding tension on the center yarn. Yarn looks very similar actually to what we're making. So I don't even know whether it's worth the trouble. But it was definitely worth the try, right? Yeah, I'm finding the take up to be very less. I don't know why. So the yarn is resulting to be very similar to the yarn we were earlier doing. So it doesn't seem like it's a big, you know, big change. But let's keep going. It's just fiber anyway, right? It'll still make some yarn, even if it's the same kind. It's fine. Okay, now the take up. I've got the take up right now. And just keeping them on either side of the wheel helps me balance it out. Green band is on the smaller groove. It's not on the smallest though. It's in the middle. I moved it from the biggest to the smallest. Okay, let's try on the smallest and see if that helps. I just every time think that would just increase my twist too much. Yeah, that's helping. Okay, I need to move my groove. yeah, the take up, it gets a little bit getting used to as to what works. And I've had like a month, a little more than a month with this wheel. I got it first week of November, so uh, that is one thing which, oh yeah, see, that worked. I just need Susie to be sitting next to me all the time. Okay. So now I'm spiral plying both, and honestly, the results are pretty similar to the yarn that I was creating without all this hassle. So sometimes you experiment just to see, like, see, you cannot really tell much of a difference. So essentially, there's no point of going through all this trouble to doing it. But it it's it's kind of creating the same yarn. So what have we learned through this? So the core is basically it's staying in there. Um, let's try something else. Since we are just trying stuff, I'm gonna just ignore my crazy yarn because I did like uh, the top, which was Corespun so much. So, have you considered trying to spin opposing ply pigtail yarn? Yes, in Sarah Anderson's. I've not tried it, but it is on my list to try. And I think she has some with like beads added to it, which look pretty cool. So, well, I have really enjoyed spinning with this wheel. It's definitely very fun to spin on. Okay, so now I'm going to move my yarn on the higher table because that's how I like. So I'm going to just do, so done anti-clockwise. Okay, so this was spiral plied with the extra twist. I'm just going to go clockwise now and do this. Why is there so much tension on this? See, I like this kind of beaded look that this yarn gets to. Oh, let's switch over to the black yarn. Okay, so remember how I was saying this is so much like boucle? Let's do it like a boucle. So that way we would have actually tested the thing that whether this is a boucle. So in the yarn that we were making, we used a really thick core in order to trap the loops, right? We don't have loops here, but imagine they're loops. But let's trap them with this and see if we actually get a boucle kind of look to it. See, it does have a boucle look. So essentially what we were doing was making a boucle yarn, except that for instead of using applying it with a thinner thread, I was using that thick core. So I would call this more like a spiral boucle. Um, okay, and let's just spin the rest of it like this because I like the way this yarn looks. Um, you just kind of want to feed the other yarn on so it kind of traps it in place. think I want to reduce the tension on this. I mean, let's go on the middle wall. Let's see how that goes. And I had actually mastered everything, like, I won't say mastered, but a lot about the take up and everything on this wheel, but I had to change the drive bands on it. And switching from the regular drive band to the new drive band kind of threw me off for a little bit because, so I look at that. I really like the way this yarn is coming out. Let's see if it does a close up. Spiral boucle, boucle. Yes. So then I think a crepe yarn is where this is where I get confused, because not confused as such, but it just seems like it's such a similar yarn to this. If I just change the thicknesses of the yarn, why isn't it a crepe yarn? So if you see my hands, I'm really applying tension on that black core thread. And on the other yarn, I'm just feeding it on. There's not much tension on that. And so it creates this kind of bubbles on it. And then I get those light and darks, which I was really liking in the beginning. I still get them, but they kind of look like buds or tiny beads. Yeah, crepe is crosswise trapping, right? And that's what I thought crepe was, but I was looking at Sarah Anderson's book, and I saw spiral crepe, which is this particular yarn out here. It's kind of a very similar concept. She uses, two S plies, turns it into a Z ply, and then plies it with another thicker Z ply and calls that a spiral crepe. So that looks similar, except that out here I have used a thin thread and a Corespun, which I plied, and then I used a thicker Corespun here. So I thought maybe I should call this spiral crepe. But then she also had something that's called a spiral boucle. And that seems similar to what I'm doing, where I am, I have a Z spun Corespun, which I am plying over a thin thread. Here it's being plied as loops, whereas I plied it as a spiral ply, and then I ply that with a thicker Corespun, and then she gets that. So my yarn looks a little similar to that. Are you connected with Sarah Anderson somehow? Sure, ask her. What? It seems like it's like a blend of both the yarns to some extent. So yeah. Her book is really amazing. It's like you get one idea from it, and then you can just spiral on and go to another idea and just make it into a different yarn. This I would consider myself that I'm still doing like a boucle. It looks like a boucle to me, but it's done with a spiral. So yes, it's all mutations of the same kind of yarn. And I'm liking it at places like this too, where it feels like there is stitching that is done between the yarn, but I like it more like this. And that is basically based on how much twist I'm putting in. So if I can really pay attention to how much twist that's going on, I can make it look one way or the other. Sorry. Either way, these all will make great yarns for weaving, or just as curtain tiebacks, or what, pillow edges someone mentioned. I like that idea a lot too. I really like this. So we have just a little bit of this left. You're on a Zoom on Tuesday with Sarah? Sure, ask her. How do I get on that Zoom? That's my question. How do I finish it? So, okay, good question, because these yarns, art yarns, and everything, many people just steam them, which also works really well with most of the yarns. But I have noticed that if I actually wash it, basically just put it in water and let the twist set and dry it, um, it it just changes the yarn completely. It becomes a lot better. The twist really sets in. The loops really come about much better. So definitely try different ways of setting it. If after steaming you think, oh, this is exactly how I want the yarn to look, then you can leave it. Now this one I did only steam. After I steamed it, the twist actually settled in much better, and I like the way it was. So I didn't bother, um, changing it up again. I just left it as it is. Yeah, send the video to Sarah and ask her what am I doing here? I'm pretending to know what I'm doing here, but I really don't. So I don't know what yarn I'm making. I'm just adding twists in different directions. I think this would qualify more as a boucle than a crepe yarn, though. Either way, it's all fun. What's in a name? We were just planning on calling it something else. What do you use to steam it? I just use a regular household iron. I just put it on the high cotton steam setting, and yeah, and then just steam over it, and you can actually see the twist turning and really fixing the twist perfectly. Yes, my hat is the Langfield hat. It's by Martina Bem, and it's one of my favorite patterns. I've knit maybe 4 or 5 hats with this pattern, and it's great for handspun. It's great for any yarn because you really don't need a gauge swatch or anything with it. You kind of start knitting it with, I think it starts here, is like a triangle shawl, and you keep increasing, and once the long edge of the triangle reaches the width of your head, you start closing it up, and you can make it tall like this and make it into a slouchy, or you can start closing it sooner and make it into a beanie. So it has a lot of flexibility, and with handspun yarn you get all the other color effects too. So if you want to just pick out a yarn and this kind of needle which will give you the right kind of fabric, you can just start knitting with this. That's my favorite part about this pattern, and it looks good on many people. And if you have made it into a slouchy and you want to wear it like a beanie, you can just take it and fold it up. I'm doing with one hand because my other hand is holding the yarn. So you can make it fit like a beanie if you wanted to as well. Impromptu fashion show. How about that? And I'm having trouble because I'm seeing a mirror image of myself, so the side that I need to adjust is actually the opposite one. But see, you can make it, you can wear it like this. I like the way the colors now zigzag. Casper has come here again because he's like, Daddy, yes, yes, I'm almost done. There's only a little bit left. Only a little bit left. So, yeah, he's like, are you done yet? Almost. Almost done. Yes, Casper, Daddy's almost done. Yeah. You're not going for a walk? You want to go for a walk out? So we are almost there to the end of this. I'm having a little trouble. There we go. Doesn't help if you have moved your yarn in a weird place and it's causing unnecessary tension which you don't want, right? Like, let's make things harder. And one thing that I realized from today's thing is it really helps to rest the spiral yarn, because there is, you have just added twist to it. I remember the last time I had just made this yarn this way, added the extra twist, and I left it for almost 2 to 3 days. So that really helps to set the twist, so it's not curling up on itself like this a lot. And so it just helps it rest, distributes the twist evenly, and then it's much easier to do the spline. Yes, Casper has been jealous since the day the aura arrived. Like my other wheels and stuff, he's not been bothered with. Actually, in this entire pandemic period, anytime there is a big parcel or anything for me, he just kind of rolls his eyes and he goes like, there. More of the attention is taken away from me. And Daddy's got a new toy to play with. Where is Casper's toy? Go get your toy. Okay, go get your toy. Go get it. Go get deer. Get your deer toy. Get your Kong toy. Where are your toys, Casper? Yeah, go get them. There. He just needs a job to do. You didn't get your toy. Where's your toy, Casper? Now he's under my chair. Yep, that's the pattern. Tense field is a different pattern. It's very similar to this one, but it is by Martina Bem as well. So, all right, we are at the end. Oops. So, want to see the final shot of the yarn? That is it. Let's see. There we go. And it's focusing, so that's good. But that's how the yarn looks. That's the one which we tried out initially, which was the plan of action, and then I wanted to play because I've already made that yarn. You've seen that yarn, showed you how I made it, and this is where we started playing, and I really like this boucle look to it. I like the way the hand painted look was, so this kind of preserves that. So it'll be a great weaving yarn. So I hope you all had fun, and if you all have any suggestions for any other kind of yarn you would like me to try, not that I will be able to do it, but at least it'll give me a challenge to try something. And if I come up with anything decent, then we could do another live video. And if you have enjoyed these live videos and everything, feel free to comment and let us know what you would like to see again. Yeah, sometimes you just want to leave the yarn on the bobbin as it is and call it a day, right? That's the reason why I said, these yarns are just really nice to just sit in a bowl and sit out there. Well, thank you, Susie. Thank you, Avanita, for arranging this all together. And I'm glad it all worked out. And I hope you all had better video quality. We earlier thought of trying to do this on Zoom or and then putting it on Facebook, but I think the quality of the videos really deteriorates. So I hope this helps and it's much better quality as well. So have fun. Thank you everyone. I'll sign off now. Casper is just sitting there waiting for me. You can see his butt out there. So take care. Bye.